Former European Parliament President Pat Cox presented his report and capacity-building roadmap for the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, the Ukraine National Parliament. The driving idea for this report is that the stability of the democratic, economic and social situation is built on strong and independent institutions.
This flag with its blue, the blue is meant to represent the northern sky, and we are, of course, in the northern hemisphere. The circle in heraldry represents harmony. The stars in our literature is an invitation to avert our gaze from the day-to-day and to dream our dreams together. And the number 12 was the hours of the day and the months of the year in constant and perpetual momentum. And this is the symbolism of this European flag. And the circle of the stars, of course, is not closed, but is open to those who aspire and dream to be part of it. And so I think it is deeply symbolic and correct, if we look to it, that we think of it in the context of what we do today. I think the work that we've done together, thanks to the inspiration of Mr. Plenković and his colleagues from the Observer Mission of the elections, thanks to the political leadership of President Schulz and Speaker Groisman, has been an exercise in convergence and consensus building within, by and for the Verkhovna Rada itself. I think the strength of this document is that it is owned by no one and therefore can be owned by everyone. And I hope that that is how this unity of purpose shown in Brussels will manifest itself in Kiev.
Boris Tarasuk, member of the Ukrainian Parliament, Deputy Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. What is the situation in Ukraine today?
The situation is very difficult, if not say dramatic. We have too many challenges. One of the greatest challenges is Russian aggression against Ukraine, the occupation and annexation of the part of our territory in the Crimea, and the war in Donbass. This is one challenge. Another challenge that Ukrainian democratic forces are trying to make reforms for the whole of the country, which are long overdue. And in this regard, serious measures are being taken to eradicate corruption and to make deep economic and legal reforms in the country.
What are the main changes that are being required by Europe for this process of reform?
We expect that Europe will keep united, and especially when it concerns the sanctions against aggressor state Russia. For this, the unity is being required. We also expect that the countries of the European Union will continue to support Ukraine in its defense of territorial integrity and sovereignty, and provide the necessary technical assistance to Ukraine to reform in all aspects of our life.
Do you think the sanctions are making a difference to Russia?
I think yes, sanctions are making a difference. They are leading Russia to the deterioration of the economic situation. But this is not the full story. Well, to make Russia suffer economically, the sanctions should be much more radical, like isolation of Russia from financial and banking system, the so-called SWIFT system. So in this case, Russia will suffer economically immensely.
And is there support for that type of measure?
For the time being, as we see the situation, there is no support.
There is a significant Russian minority within the Ukraine. Can that minority be assured of their rights in the Ukraine as it reforms?
Well, there is no problem of Russian minority as well as other minorities in Ukraine. They have all rights to be implemented, and there are no complaints apart from Russian propaganda, which is absolutely false, as everything Russia is being spreading. You can easily hear in the streets of Ukrainian cities, Russian language, and nobody, is surprising. Here in Brussels, you may hear not only, Dutch, French, English, Russian, Ukrainian language, the same picture in Ukraine. So there is no grounds whatsoever to claim that there is a problem of national minorities in Ukraine. The problem of national minorities and even the indigenous population is in the occupied areas occupied by Russia. The problem with the Crimean Tatars, the problem with Ukrainians living in the occupied Crimea. So these are serious problems.